be interested in. And so one of the things that I've heard kind of talked about amongst players in Lusternia is that some of the new options in the game make it difficult for non-fighting, non-combat type players to participate, because when they try to get involved in certain events, the players that are very combat oriented can kind of kill them before they can even get involved. And I kind of heard like there was an area that like on, I guess, the astral plane where a lot of gold was being dropped, and if you tried to go there, you just got, and you didn't know combat, you'd get killed off right away or something like that. So I'm curious, is there anything in place or for players that maybe aren't as combat oriented to be able to have a shot at those kind of things?
Uh, I know the event you're probably talking about, the Wounded Sky event, which is a big story line that had just we're just like halfway through. The
Mm.
currently the sky in Lusternia is completely out of whack. It's wounded. We're in the era of the Wounded Sky. And
Mm.
where that goes, who knows? But but what they're talking about, it wasn't players killing other players. It was just there was a lot of high level mobs, and that prevented newbies and lowbies from, maybe some midbies, from participating because the mobs were just really tough.
Uh,
Um,
so there's a certain kind of gap in the ability to go to certain areas because of the difficulty of
yeah,
even just survival.
right.
Uh, if we can, I'm just going to kind of jump questions here so that we
Okay.
can speed through. There's a kind of a concept now in Lusternia. There's an undead. Is that right? In
Yeah.
Lusternia?
Yeah.
I,
There's
and
always been ended.
or
Always been undead.
wait, there's always been undead. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So one of the things that I wanted to understand is it possible to influence the undead? I know influencing is possible for living creatures, and it's a big part of the game for a lot of players because that's how they get experience. Is that something that you can do with undead as well?
That's an interesting question. Some people can and some people can't. Usually, if you're a player undead, you can become a lich. Um, you can influence the undead, uh, and those people in the sort of darker commune, nature commune, can have a crow cloak that will allow influencing undead. So it's possible to influence undead.
Is there ever going to be a future artifact where you could wear an artifact and have the equivalent of a crow cloak?
I don't think so. I
No?
don't think so. I
Okay.
think that will just be confined to those guilds that are able to have the ability to speak with dead,
I know
speak with
some
undead.
people kind of feel like there should be an artifact to make me equal to everybody in every situation, no matter what. If I've got the
Yeah.
credits, I should be able to have every skill in the game practically. So, yeah, I thought I'd ask that one out. One of the things I understand is that the elder gods have shared in different races, or sharded into different
Sharded.
races
Yeah.
rather. And so, what are the races of some of the elder gods, such as Lyrith, Terentia, Fane, yourself, Astara? Do they have races as well?
No, no, no. If a god splintered and sharded, that means they're dead, or pretty much their soul has been, or their spirit has been splintered among the races.
Mhm.
So
So they have
if
no
you,
race.
yeah, if you're a living god, that means you have no race. If
I
you're a
see.
dead god, that means you might have a race. So
Mm. Okay, I
that's
gotcha.
splintering
so,
words.
so before splintering, were any of the gods the same race?
We're getting pretty esoteric here. The gods were born uh, in what we called creches, which are different, have become different cosmic planes and are potential cosmic planes. And there's usually five uh, elder gods born in one creche, so they're kind of related, but they're not really a race per se.
Right. Well, I told you
So
these questions are going to
you
be for the
you can
Lusternia
read all about
fans.
this in the Elder Wars. It'll explain everything.
Well, that leads me perfectly into my next question, which are the Elder Wars books ever going to be physically available for purchase?
Oh, interesting. Someone asked me that, or I think even offered to do some type of vanity print for the Elder Wars, and at the time hadn't completed it. But now that it's complete, I guess that's a possibility. I haven't really thought about that in a while, but if there's a interest in getting hard copies of the Elder Wars, maybe I'd even write a couple of bonus chapters for it. Maybe we'll do that. It's
Well,
not.
how could you be informed about that interest? How would people let you know that there really is an interest for that?
Comment on this video. Let
Okay,
me know.
perfect. So let's see. This one's going to kind of jump out there a little bit as well to some of the players. Tell me a little bit about the library system and it's involved in like the game. You said there's not just Bardic, like a lot of people in Iron Realms games are used to writing things for the website, but you actually have in-game authoring and design competitions that have some sort of benefit. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, the we have the Bardic Artisanal Contest, and we've been pretty good about every month doing awarding people that had submitted short stories, poems, and pieces of artwork. But that's different from the library system. The library system is in-game, and it's another way for cities to compete with each other on what we call a cultural level. And you submit short stories or books, and books being what players create that have their stories or whatever in it. And it's rated by the Divine Council, which are the admin.
Mm-hmm.
And the winners get cultural points, and it benefits the entire city or commune. And it gives you power and that type of thing and bragging rights. And we also have a similar system for plays because we have a stage system. How to describe that? Where if you actually want to put on a play, you can go to your stage and program a play.
Mm.
And if you do, you can submit performances, which is kind of peer reviewed
Mm-hmm.
rather than admin reviewed, but that can also give you cultural points. So
Wow.
yeah, there's a way for cities to compete with each other in a non-combat way, which is through the library system.
So you've got libraries, designing, and the play theatrical systems
Right.
all helping out cities in terms of culture.
Right.
That's
And it
very
gives
cool.
them power.
Yeah.
It gives them power. It generates power.
Wow, that is really fascinating. I know that there was some attempts at implementing a theater system in IKEA, and I haven't seen that go to that extent. So that would be very cool. I'd like to look more into that. And I'm actually curious, back onto the topic of combat, what is your personal philosophy in terms of raiding and how that plays a part in combat? Because I understand that there's been some implementations in Lusternia that have made it difficult for high-level people to feel incentives to raid because they have such great losses if they die and maybe lose experience or things like that. Can you comment on that?
Yeah. Rating is always a tricky subject because if you can raid anytime, unlike sort of uh, the village system where they only revolt, once a week,
Mm-hmm.
you can raid anytime. So we've had a lot of issues it when it's too easy to raid, where one group of people can really wear down an entire player base, entire organization.
Right.
So we'll put in mechanics to make it a little bit more difficult to raid.
Mm-hmm.
So the question is it too difficult to raid? Or I personally think we have a good balance right now. And I know there are people that definitely disagree with that
Right.
they think that should be a lot more easier to raid. And I don't think they have a short memory of the issues that came up when it was easier to raid.
Right.
Um, but that's my comment on rating.
So sort of the wishes of the many sometimes outweigh the wishes of the few,
Right.
and in this case that may be the case. And I got the feeling that some of the players, I guess more so at the end game players, have issues because they don't want to lose some of the hard work they've put into end game status, like all the hunting they've done to get to be a demigod, for example. and so they don't want to go out there and just lose it because they decided to go raiding and got killed or something like that.
Yeah, well, they shouldn't go raiding if they don't. Demigods die a little differently than normal mortals.
Mm-hmm.
They have their own essence store, and as long as you have enough essence, you should never lose demigod. And if you go raiding with not enough essence to maintain your demigodhood, then that's just your own fault. I mean,
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for people that lose their demigod through raiding.
Right. So maybe they just haven't realized they need to be demigod a little longer before they go out there and start strutting their stuff.
Right.
And so yeah, that's actually a good comment. And let's see. I know that there was something that some people had mentioned to me about the demon lords being harder to kill, and I know we're really now in the topic of Lusternia for new players that might be still watching this. They're going to go, "What is that?" But I know some of the people have been asking questions about, are the demon lords going to remain this difficult? It seems like they're wiping out entire, groups of people that before could handle large amounts of them.
I don't think that's true because I think they've died. Um, it is more difficult. We just did a update on the mobs that will allows us to make their health uh, expand their health, so it takes longer to kill them.
Mm-hmm.
But that didn't affect how hard they hit.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, the demon lords are tougher, as are the supernals, the angelic beings, as are the nature avatars. So it's not just the demon lords. We haven't tweaked them at all for how hard they hit or their types of attacks they do. It's the same way as it was before we upgraded their hit points, let's say. Um, I don't think they're too hard. I really don't, and I think
Right.
they've died. So, I think someone even messaged me, "Hey, they this one only died in 7 minutes. Are you sure you didn't make them tough enough?"
Oh wow.
So, I don't think 7 minutes is, or 10 minutes even, is too long to kill one of the highest level creatures in the game.
Right, and I think people have forgotten that, if you play in another MMO type game, people spend hours beating on certain creatures to
Right.
see them fall. So, there's definitely that. You need to get some contrast and some perspective, possibly. So that seems to be good. I think we've talked about a lot. One of the things we didn't dive into, but I think we can in the future, is talk more about the interaction between gods and mortals in the game. I know that just from my experience that you have a religion type system set up where people follow particular gods in their path,
Right.
and then there's a whole ascension process like the demigods and the vernal gods. So there's mortal gods in the game, people that were mortals and became godlike, and then there are
Right.
actual administrative type gods that are creators and play just strictly a god in the game. And so, if you want to touch on that briefly, feel free. We can talk about that for a minute here.
Well, there's the demigods are our level 100. You can't go above level 100, but you can gain essence, which you can use to purchase or to invest in different demigod powers. So that's the system we have set up for the end game. There is a level beyond that, which we call ascendants, or the age of ascendants, and to get that, there's only two ways to get that. One is to win the year-end game. There's one player a year that can ascend to become a true ascendant, and then the other way is for cities or to raise play to become what we call a vernal ascendant, and that's sort of limited and regulated, so we
Right.
don't have hundreds of vernal ascendants running around.
Right.
And that was controversial. A lot of people thought that we should just allow as many ascendants as the players could afford.
Well, if we can wrap this up, we're about to hit our 15-minute mark. I want to thank you, Rob, and or Stara from Lusternia for helping us and teaching people about your game. And hopefully players will tune in. That's lusternia.com if this is your first time. And we'll get more from Rob in the future.